Today I'm going to discuss values and colors. Oh my. I'm Michelle Manriquez from Drop That Brush, and I want to help non-artists become artists. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Value is the strength or intensity of color. So you have a light value and a dark value. It sounds really easy, right? No problem. But the minute you add color into the whole thing, it gets much more difficult. With value, we determine depth, contrast. There are two ways that you can increase value. One of the more typical ones is that you go and layer after layer. However, if you're working with a color that only gets to a value 5, unless you don't add another color, you will not get any more than a value 5. So something to note. The second way is that we do a direct painting. We are trying to get it on at the first try. I would like to do that. It's always my goal, but it does require normally a glaze or two to get it the correct value. Sometimes I get it, but mostly not. I typically keep my layers no more than 2 to 4 layers. There are people who will do 50 layers. I just don't have the patience. I want to go to the next one. Let's talk about the difference. Hyper-realism. So when they're doing hyper-realism, they're using all the values. I'm a impressionistic painter, so what I use is light, mid-tone, dark. And I don't really worry about if it's perfect. As long as I'm in that area, I consider that's okay and that works for me. But if you want to be exactly like the picture, then you're using all the values and the correct values as needed for the picture. You notice that this one has little holes. If you don't have holes in it, I really suggest you do that. It really helps. There is different kinds of values. So there's actually no white on this one. It goes straight up to dark. But I love the little holes. And if you can't find the holes, do a hole punch and just punch it. I like this one better, and when I refer to 1 through 10, that's the one I'm referring to. They do it differently, and it's just a different style, and I do like it. It's sturdy. That's why I like it. So if I ignore the numbers, it works for me. So for this one, these are my light values, my mid values, and my dark values. It doesn't really matter what the numbers are. Just if you can remember light, mid, dark. That pretty much will give you what you need to know. You would think this is easy, right? You know, light and dark. It can't be that hard. Well, the minute you add color, oh my, it does make it so much harder. If I would just do like one color, it would be really easy, light and dark. I want to talk about my palette. Just something that would help you, or at least it helped me. Do you see some of these are dark in my palette? Here's what I know. Anything that's dark will probably be a 7, 8, 9 in value. So it will be able to get dark. So the darker it is, like this is really dark, this is really dark. So that lets me know right from the beginning that this particular color will actually be dark. The other thing I'd like you to be a note is anything that's very dark, it is transparent. Isn't that nice? Kind of nice little trick. Anything that's light, like this color, these colors, they are semi-transparent. You can't go darker than what it is. So I get a 2 value. Maybe a 3, maybe here a 3. And it's never going to get darker unless I add some other colors into it to bring it down. And if I get the darkest of the dark, it doesn't matter what it is. I just know that those are transparent. I know that they will go all the way down to the value range. And so I grab those. Cadmium red and cobalt blue are a 5 value. That kind of helps me because I know anything else in my palette that looks darker than that is probably have a higher value. Whereas anything lighter in my palette, then it means that it will be a lighter value. So all of my pictures go into black and white, and then I transfer it into an app called Notarizer. I have another video that will tell you how to use that app, and it will let you know whether it's a good picture or not to paint. I want to refer you to how to design a painting using values and colors. So let's start understanding what happens with values and when we're using color. All right. It's not just saying, oh yes, this is light, this is dark. For colors, it all depends how big a value it is. So if I'm looking at this, if this is your white value, this, by the way, this does not go up to black. Black is darker than that. Go to chowder strength. I'm not really seeing the bottom of the paper. Yellow is a little bit of semi-transparent. But if I add water, it becomes transparent. So let's go the littlest low I could do. Okay, so that's straight out, there's T strength. So let's go to a little bit stronger. Now this is obviously transparent. Okay, it's a little stronger. So let's go to a little bit darker yet. I'm gonna look at this. I'm gonna score this. I'm gonna get myself right here. Okay, that did not even make a value 2. Basically, it's white. Let's go to the next one. That made almost a value 2. I'd say these are a 3, barely. I'm not even sure. Hang on, go back. Squint your eyes. Squint your eyes. Okay, nope, it's a 2. And I can look at this and say, okay, that's a 2. This, straight out of the thing, is actually a 2. Let's try a darker yellow. I always go for the darkest I can get. Now, that also is semi-transparent. Now let me come here, let me get some, you see my T. And let's auto water more. Okay, that's the same strength as that. We try to get a little darker. And I see that these as being the same value. So we're at white, basically, in T strength. I'm making a 2. Let's look at 2 and, nope, you can see it's much dark or lighter than this. So go back, it is a 2. Let's go here. Okay, it's definitely not that dark. It's a 3. I am never gonna get a dark color from yellow. So let's look. This is a light color in the palette. This is darker, but it's not as dark as that. And so as we're looking at this, if we recognize that everything that is really light color, this is a light color, that's a light color, that's a light color, that's a light color, and these are darker colors, And you can tell there's a difference between this one versus this one. So you can see this is a little lighter, this is a little darker. If you determine that, that will kind of let you know what the values are just by looking at your palette. I don't have cad red in my palette, but I have coral, which is the same value as cad red. So I know this, a cad red or coral, will only make a 5 value, and that's all it's gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that just so you can see it. So we're gonna go thick, 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 thick. You really don't see the paper, but here, as this gets a little darker, you start to see the white of the paper. See if we can get a real light color. And let's get a mid. And let's get a... All right, so let's take a look with the value scale. I would say that's a 2, okay? You can look over here, this is a 1, but I actually got more value, so I would say 2. This is a 3. Now let's go back to too dark, so it's right in the middle. And here, it could even be a 4. Yeah, I see 4. Do you see 4? I want you guys to see this because it really helps you to be able to understand what color it is. All right, and it's close. Okay, I'm squinting. I'm looking with my eyes and squinting, and I would say it is a 5. All right, so if I have cad red, I can look at that color and recognize that anything lighter than that, any of these, are going to be less than a 5 value. This is probably my dark yellow, pretty semi-transparent, and I want to see what I get when I get a really light. Now, so anything that's semi-transparent can choose to be transparent by simply using more water. That's a pretty color, huh? And I'm looking at this. These look like they're the same color, but I don't think it gets lighter. I don't think I can get a lighter. Let me just try to see if I can get a little lighter. Let's see. Huh, interesting. So I'm looking at these, and I'm looking here. They look very similar. Maybe they shouldn't be both on my palette. This is certainly a much more transparent color. I'm learning things about my things too. It's not like you. I learn all the time playing with my stuff. Playing with my colors. So I'm looking here. Pretty much I can get this, those are almost the same, and that. So I'm gonna come back through, I'm gonna look. Well, okay, that's a 1. That's definitely is a 2, because you can see, look, go back and compare. This, okay, that's definitely too light. This is the right color, so it's a 3. Squint, squint, squint. This is how you do it. I'm over here looking. Maybe it's kind of in between. Even maybe a 5. That's really dark for a yellow. I want to look at this when I'm putting my colors on. And why do I care? Well, number 1, depending upon how much realistic you want, that will make a huge difference. If you want it pretty realistic, then you have to hit the values pretty good. I use 4 values and just kind of stop. And that allows me to have a little more impressionistic paintings. But it all depends on what you're looking for. So we know that this red is darker than cadmium red or this one. Let me just show you real fast. Look at that. It's quite a bit darker. But you can see it on the palette that it looks lighter, that looks darker. Or yellows will run around value 1, 2, 3, and occasionally a 4. That's pretty much it. When you hit 2 reds, they can make it up to 7. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna make it into T strength. Probably, this is, I think, Pyro Red, and it's actually is very similar to Alizarin and Crimson. Oh, I think I need a little darker. This would be tea, milk, cream, and chowder. Now, you can see here, you don't really see the paper. You do on these 3. So all you do is add water to keep it transparent. The typical reds will run all the way up to 7. But Cad Red, or anything that looks like Cad Red, is probably a 5 max. So I can see this one's not dry yet, but this is actually is a 7. This is definitely darker. And you can see this color is lighter than that color. So I think that helps you so when you're trying to determine what colors you're trying to do. When I see this beautiful cobalt blue, I can determine that this is darker than cobalt blue. So I'm kind of looking for visual clues. I don't know how that works for you, but for me, that's helped me to understand whereas I'm grabbing things. Is this a light or dark value? It is a light value, and it's because it's lighter in color than, say, this, which is dark, and that'll be a 5. And that's only a 5. Doesn't matter what you do. If I put more and more blue on this, it's gonna get to be a 5. That'll be it. Now it looks dark right now, but it has to dry. As I'm looking at my palette, the darkest color is phthalo blue. It's very dark. It can get up to a 9. Most of the blues run in all the way up to 9. Basically, it's the darker ranges. Now, are you aware that you cannot make a black with one color? Phthalo blue, green shade, is about the darkest in your primary palette. So how do I use that? You know, every video I've seen, they have this, that's lovely, and they say, okay, good luck now. And I'm like, oh, I really don't get this. I mean, I get light to dark, but how do I know what to do it in a picture? This is not my picture. This is actually a student of mine's. And so I would then come over here, and so if I'm not sure what kind of value it is, I'm gonna go over, see this little area right here. I'm gonna look, and that's 9. Okay, how about here? And I'm just gonna run this through someplace between a 2 or a 3. So I may go through, if I'm not sure what I'm looking at, I'll grab my value sheet and I'll wander around and kind of look at it. I'm doing all this and you're thinking, why am I doing this? I don't care what color it is. I need to know the value level of my palette, because I can make that a 5. I know that I can never make this will only make to a 2, but if I want another color, I need at least a 5 to hit that area. Does that make sense? This, I am never going to be able to use this color. It's a 9. I'm never going to use a red because it can't make it to a red. So it's going to have to be mixed. But it allows me to use any color I want as long as I know what value they run. So let's take this into color. Now, I couldn't find this picture. I looked everywhere today. So I'm grabbing a different picture. I've painted my picture, and now I want to know if my values work. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go, okay, here's this light color. Yeah, that's definitely white. How do I, let's look at this one is. That would be, I say that's for sure is a 3. Ooh, that's much darker. That's a 6. And how about my darks? Looks like I got an 8. I didn't get to black. This was my focus area, but this is my brightest bright with my darkest dark. And that's how we use value. So we know what's going on. I use this all the time. It's something that sits next to me. Not everybody does. I do it because I want to make sure that my values are different, not the same. Why would I want things to be the same value? Main way is because we want passage through the painting. So there are times when I specifically want them to make sure that they're the same value. But if I'm wanting a focus area and I want to know what's going to be the darkest dark, the lightest light, I'm going to use this. Probably the most hardest thing is to get the values right. So when a thing is not working, I get my value scale and I start looking around to see what's happening, because maybe I'm all running everything in mid values and there isn't anything darks. That gives you an opportunity to fix something. Normally it's just you need to make it darker. And then you think, okay, great. Now what do I decide to be darker? Well, you do where the focus is, what's important. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm very interested in how you see and how do you handle values. I know that values, it takes a while to really think about it and understand it, but I hope this was helpful for you. So you know what? When you're painting and you have no idea what you're doing, drop that brush, like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Check out my Facebook and my Instagram. It's directly below in the descriptions. You have a wonderful day and take care.